Welcome back to another episode of the Streetwise English Podcast. I'm your host, Carl. Today's episode will have live transcription on my YouTube channel. Search for the Streetwise English Podcast on YouTube. Hopefully, you can access the internet. If you are behind the Great Firewall, you may need a VPN. FYI. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So today's podcast is nothing technical. The last couple of podcasts I've been talking about iPhones, iPads, electronic gadgets, which I love to talk about. And we all use them all the time, every day, right? But let's talk about something more organic. This is another everyday topic, and that is the topic of eating. So I'm going to talk about what I made for dinner today. So what I made for dinner today is very simple, and it's something that you can do without having a lot of culinary skill, and that is roasting vegetables. The meal was vegetarian. It's actually cooking in the oven right now. I haven't finished cooking. I decided to make this podcast for you while the vegetables are roasting in the oven. So basically, roasted vegetables are when you wash and dice up veggies, you put them on a cookie sheet, and then you place them in the oven, and you roast them for, about 45 minutes. So that's the overall picture. Now I'm going to tell you the details, the nitty-gritty details of my meal. So the star dish, the star vegetable of tonight's dinner is the butternut squash. Butternut squash is kind of oblong. It's long like this. It's a gourd, and it's kind of a light orange fleshy color on the outside. And first of all, I had to cut the skin off of the gourd. And on the inside, the flesh is a dark orange color. And cutting the skin off is not that easy because it is very hard. But once you cut all the skin off with a knife, kind of like carving a pumpkin, once you cut that off, you cut it in half. And then you have to remove the seeds and that pumpkinish filling that is inside the gourd. And I usually use a spoon or something like that. And then after that, I cube it and cut the pieces into small little cubes. And those pieces will be placed onto the cookie sheet. And they are about 1 inch by 1 inch, pretty small. And so all the things that you roast should be approximately the same size. That way they will cook approximately during the same amount of time. So next I cut up onions. I made some onions because roasted onions are always tasty. And what else did I put on the cookie sheet? Oh, I tried tofu for the first time. I cut up a brick of tofu and made little 1 inch cubes. Actually, those are 2 inch. Like, I made them longer, and I set those on the cookie sheet. And I put in a little bit of garlic, and then all of that together, I doused it with garlic oil. So a little bit of garlic oil makes everything taste better. And on the cookie sheet, I used a sheet of wax paper, is that what it is? Or aluminum foil. I did two cookie sheets. And the other cookie sheet, I did potatoes. So first I boiled the potatoes for 20 minutes, and then I smashed them up because you want the edges of the potatoes to be broken a little bit. And then I mixed some olive oil in there, and I put the potatoes on the second sheet because roasted potatoes are delicious. So I did 1 sheet of potatoes and then the other sheet of the butternut squash. onions, tofu, and bell pepper. And then after I diced all that stuff up and put them on the cookie sheets, I put them in the oven at 420 degrees and put the timer on for 20 minutes. And after that, you just kick back and you can do whatever you want. You can read a book, record a podcast, scroll on your phone. I don't suggest you do that, by the way. We all do that too much. And 45 minutes later, you're going to have some roasty, toasty, golden, delicious vegetables. And you can add a little bit of seasoning, some salt, and maybe some soy sauce or whatever kind of seasoning you want. But the basic taste of the natural taste of the ingredients will be good enough for me. And you get that nice, crispy, golden brown edges on things like the potatoes and the butternut squash. And it's just very satisfying. It's much better than eating them if they were boiled. So that's my dinner for tonight. That's my organic cooking podcast for you. I hope you enjoyed that. My name is Carl from the Streetwise English Podcast. And recording this podcast is making me hungry. So thank you for listening. And please check out my YouTube channel, the Streetwise English Podcast, and Spotify, Apple Tunes, everywhere, all these major platforms. And I'm also an online tutor if you want to take a one-on-one class. So thank you for listening, my friends. I will see you next time. Adios, amigos.